All right. So I'll start with a quick background of the study. That is the digital transformation of teaching and learning practice. So we know how online teaching is different from traditional classroom teaching in terms of mode, of course, in terms of the channel of communication, but also in terms of the structure, okay, of how teaching is organized. Okay. Later we will come to that in terms of the schematic structure of online teaching. And of course, the tenor, that is the relations, the social relations is also changed. So, for example, teacher-student relations. And there are a lot of studies, a lot of discussions about challenges of student-teacher relation in online teaching, right? And for one thing, if you can't see the students, face to face, then you might feel that they are a bit distant and unfamiliar, okay, and all these kinds of interpersonal rapport is affected. And student-student relation, of course, is also affected, right? Because they won't be able to work together, to hang out together and things, right? Okay, and if we think about this online teaching videos, then very often the students are absent. So that is also a very important aspect of the tenor that is changed. I find also in terms of the field of activity, in terms of, first of all, what teachers do. So apparently in online teaching, in teaching videos, the teachers have to take care of the technologies, right? So in classroom, there might not be so many. You have to take the computer as well, but you don't have to set up the Zoom and everything. But also in terms of the content of the teaching, right? So in terms of the actual things that is taught, in the past, many things might not be so relevant, but now after pandemic, we might be able to say, for example, the AI technologies, right? All these things have become more relevant. Okay, so in terms of what teachers do, in terms of what is taught, things have also changed. And particularly one thing is perhaps in online teaching, we say a increasing trend of recreational kind of content, right? The teacher entertaining the students, a lot of jokes and a lot of entertaining videos and so on, trying to engage the students because of the lack of face-to-face contact. And a particular new development was the online teaching videos during the pandemic, but of course it happened before the pandemic, but the pandemic accelerated the development of online teaching videos in terms of what I'm talking about, micro lectures and all kinds of online teaching videos on YouTube and in the Chinese context on TikTok, on Little Red Book, and so on. Despite their popularity, there has been a few systematic analysis of how online teaching videos are designed to communicate knowledge as a type of multimodal discourse. There are a lot of studies, interviews, a lot of ethnographic studies and so on, but there are a few systematic analysis of the discourse itself in terms of its schematic structure and in terms of how multimodal resources are designed. So these are the questions I'm going to address in today's talk. Just a very quick background on also microlecture as a digital genre. Of course, we know a lot of studies are genre analysis of university lecture. And in recent years, researchers have started to develop new analytical models to address the question, what happens when various genres move online? So as I just mentioned at the beginning, how teaching and learning is transformed in online contexts, in online teaching videos, and all kinds of MOOC and micro lecture and so on. And in terms of digital genres, we have so many studies about home pages, like e-shopping sites, blogs, YouTube videos, and so on. And they all suggest that digital genres are characterized by multiple communicative purposes. For example, the mixture of information, promotion, and entertainment. So it's all in one. And also nonlinear move structure, like the navigation by hyperlinks. So it's not so like linear, like in a research article where you have an introduction and the literature review and so on. So it's linear moves. So very often we might not feel comfortable to call them move anymore in digital genres, right? So some of them researchers call them micro genres, right? They are components that are not necessarily organized in a linear way. And of course, also the use of multimodal resources, uh, which is a norm in online teaching videos. So I will also analyze the multimodal design in relation to pedagogy. And then the questions I address are very simple. First is what are the moves? And second, how are these moves realized through the deployment of multimodal resources? And then third, what do the discursive features reveal about the pedagogical landscape of teaching, okay, of tertiary level ELT in the era of digital technology? And my data, I was 38 award-winning ELT videos in the 6th micro lesson contest. So this contest, they are theme-based. Some of them are about ESP, some EAP, and some English for general purposes, just about introducing English-speaking culture, or some kinds of grammar, things like this. And the method is multimodal genre analysis. It's just very simple 2 steps. The first is to identify the moves. So we also code the occurrence of each move to say the distribution and to say the overall patterns of the moves. And the second step is to say how each move is realized. So we look at the multimodal configuration of each move. This is where it becomes a multimodal analysis. So we look at not just the language, but also the visual resources, sound effect, background music, and so on. So I'll just quickly go through some of the most interesting features of the micro lectures. So here is the structure. So we have 3 chunks, 3 stages: introduction, instruction, and application, which is no different from a traditional lecture. But there are some interesting differences. For example, in terms of titling, usually in traditional lectures, there's nothing so interesting in titling, right? It's just a noun. But very often in the micro lectures, they are verbs, like how to do something. Yeah. So, and often the titling is very well designed with uh, relevant background information, with PowerPoint background, I mean, and like figures. If, for example, there's a slide talking about, if there's a lecture talking about Confucius, then you have the Confucius picture on the title page. Okay, but I'll focus on the second move, that is the lead-in move. This move uses examples or questions about things that students are familiar with to facilitate the introduction of abstract concepts. And it set up a framework for the lecture discourse and provide a context for new information to come. And they also serve to grab the audience attention and engage their interest. And in the micro lectures, 76% of the videos include a lead-in move. But I'm also, first, before coming to lead-in move in micro lectures, I will also compare this study with a previous study of mine, that is a analysis of PowerPoint slides. Okay? So I will do some comparison of these 2 genres and some interesting differences. So in terms of the lead-in move in PowerPoint slides, this move is missing in over half of the PowerPoint slides. And even for those with this move, the lead-in is often remote from daily life and is not able to engage students' interest. So this is an example. In one slide, before introducing the design feature of arbitrariness, the instructor asked this question: do you think language forms bear a natural relationship to their meaning? How do you understand the design feature of arbitrariness? This question is very difficult to answer, right? If you do not know what arbitrariness is, you won't be able to answer the question, right? So this is very abstract. It's not really using concrete examples that is related to students' life, right? So you can imagine there will be silence, right? No student would be able to answer the question. And here's one exception in PowerPoint slides. This is a good leading move. This is also talking about the design features of language. And this lecture started from this PowerPoint, this slide can say, are they talking animals? Okay, animal communication. We know that they are talking parrots, squeaking dolphins, and so on. So do you think animals use language? And this is actually an example that students can actually discuss, right? They can express their opinions. So this is a proper lead-in, right? And then the teachers start to talk about, okay, why they do not have language, right? What is language? Things like this, right? So in that studies, I made this claim that the teaching of linguistics need to start from language use and find theories to explain the phenomena, rather than starting from theories and find examples to illustrate the theories. So to this end, leading should not be an optional move, but a key move with rich language examples and authentic images. So basically, we can say there are two patterns in terms of kind of expounding knowledge. The first is a problem solution pattern, where you have a real situation, you have some problems, some questions from daily life, from real life, and then the teachers ask the question, and then how do we answer the question? Okay, how do we solve the problem? Then the teacher introduces the theory, the knowledge, right? Not necessarily a linguistic theory, but the knowledge. Okay, and then another pattern is a concept explanation pattern, where there's no example. The teacher just start with the concept, okay, and then start to explain the concept. Okay, so today we're going to talk about arbitrariness and what it means, right? And they start to explain all kinds of the definitions of this concept. Right. And then we move to leading in micro lectures. So compared with PowerPoint slides, there are more leading moves, and we can say, so there are more this kind of problem solution patterns where you say there are some kind of real life examples, okay, like through hypertextual video clips, which allow students to traverse between classroom side and out of classroom side, and also between the abstract and the concrete. So we see a lot of existing resources from popular culture, like from soap opera, from movies, and social media, and so on. And we also see a lot of self-made videos led by students. And most of these videos are visual narratives to contextualize knowledge as compared with static images in PowerPoint. Okay. And these videos, they often have a setting problem solution pattern. So first, there's usually a kind of a campus setting or whatever, daily life setting, and then there's a problem, and then the theory or the knowledge comes as a solution to the problem. So this is an example. This is talking about introducing Chinese culture to foreigners. So you say this is first, there's a setting that is the campus here, right? And then the teacher meets two students and asking the question. Okay, so we have like two foreign students on exchange with us. Then if they ask you to introduce like what is like good food or whatever about China, then what to share, right? So that's the problem. Okay, that's the question. And then the solution is what the teacher is going to talk about in this micro lecture. Okay, so in sharing about China, about Chinese culture and whatever, then we are going to do this and that. Okay, so this is kind of in this way, you can see the knowledge, not necessarily theory, but the knowledge is situated, is contextualized to solve this problem in case a foreigner asks you about how to introduce China, right? What is the food to eat, where to travel, and things like this. Okay, and we can also say this construct a kind of a casualness. We can say that just a teacher writing to the student on campus, right? And they are related to the student audience by maximally recreating an authentic everyday campus life. Right. So that is these two kinds of leading moves, right? So starting from theory and just explain it without really contextualizing the knowledge, versus most of the micro lectures, we say how knowledge is situated in daily life. There's a setting and there's a problem, and the knowledge comes as a solution to the problem. Okay, so now we come to the second stage, the instruction. So we'll focus on definition and the exemplification of the definition. So this is an obligatory move, definition or explication. Uh, uh, so these lectures, they would define a lot of concepts, okay, like what is, I don't know, like what is culture, for example. Yeah, like what is arbitrariness, right? What is English for academic purposes, things like this. All kinds of uh, knowledge related to English for general purposes or specific purposes. So in these micro lectures, the logic, the relations are usually visualized through compositional design and the use of illustrative images to decode meanings. So, for example, in this lecture on Chinese food, okay, so this is about the difference between two kinds of Chinese food, yuanxiao and tangyuan. Okay, and we can say how the difference is illustrated through the visually organized, okay, kind of discourse, right? Visual and verbal, centering on the visual. So we see the pictures. They are superior to images, to language, okay? And then students can get a kind of straightforward understanding about the difference, right? Using kind of rolling or wrapping. Okay. And this is also very different from my previous analysis of PowerPoint slides. So here in these micro lectures, we do not see a lot of lengthy definitions and explanations of concepts. While in PowerPoint, you see a lot of this kind of definitions. Okay, so like social linguistics is the study for this of the relation between language and society and this and that. So there are all kinds of definitions. Yeah, so it seems the purpose of the PowerPoint slide is to teach students about knowledge related to all kinds of linguistics, ESP, and different concepts about culture and so on. So now I'll just quickly move to exemplification because it is mixed with the definition. Okay, and related back to what I just talked about, this problem solution pattern and also concept explanation pattern. We also say here these two patterns: concept before example and examples before concepts. First is you start with So unpacking the abstract concept and knowledge claims into common sense knowledge through examples. So you start with concept and then you start to explain it and provide examples. And so this is essentially the deductive reasoning. You start with the concept and you say, okay, so here is the manifestation, the exemplification of the concept. And the second approach is abstracting the common sense knowledge into abstract scientific knowledge. So we start with phenomena, and we explain and then lead to a certain theories or knowledge. Okay? So this is essentially inductive. So we argue that the knowledge construction need to make use of both methods, right? Both approaches. So we start from the phenomenon where we identify the problem that needs to be addressed, okay, the issue that needs to be addressed, okay, and then the theory or knowledge comes as a solution to address this issue. Okay, so like we don't know what is like do animals speak language or something like that, right? Then okay, here is the knowledge to help you understand this issue, this problem. Okay, and then finally to the application, right? I'll come to that later. Then you use the theory to solve problems in new contexts, and this is kind of similar to all different pedagogical approaches, like, for example, multiliteracy pedagogy, right? Starting with situated practice, and then to overt instruction in the middle, and a critical framing and application, transformed practice in the end. So this is the approach, right? The organization of concept and exemplification. And now let's look at the realization of exemplification. It is similar to lead-in move, with a lot of gamified visual presentations and multimodal storytelling. So, for example, we say this kind of designs, animations, okay, and there seems to be a new genre of edutainment. We see a lot of this kind of entertaining animations or footage in micro lectures. And this reflects Crass' point that the boundaries between the genres of work and those of entertainment is gradually disappearing. So, of course, this is because of the need to engage students' interest in online teaching, right? In the micro lectures and on YouTube videos and so on. Okay, so we do see the increase of the activity of recreating. So coming back to thinking about the field, right? So what teachers are doing, teachers are not just expounding knowledge. Teachers also are trying to entertain the students, okay, and perhaps also sharing their personal experience and so on, in order to build rapport and engage students' interest. So yeah, we say the change of the activities, right? So not just expounding knowledge, providing information, but also recreating, sharing, and so on. We'll come to that in a bit more detail later. And different from lead-in, we also have different types of different modes of instructions. So like this one, so you can say here, basically, this is talking about checking in, right? All vocabulary related to kind of airport and taking flight. Okay, and basically, it's not impossible for a teacher to be dressed like this and having this real kind of simulated context, right, of airport. But here we say that the teacher is enacting a flight attendant, right, through the outfit, through the posture, and so on, right? So we say basically this is performing a flight attendant. Okay, and in terms of setting, we can say this virtual background of the airport setting. Okay, and if we look at the composition, we can also say how this is designed in a way that so the teacher is on the right. Is right. Yeah, and then there's this blank space, like a virtual kind of whiteboard, right, for the words to appear. And in terms of the interactive meaning, we see the use of medium long shot, we see the gaze, and we see the frontal angle and things. So this all these designs, right, the design of the outfit, okay, and the virtual background composition, the camera, all these are not relevant in face-to-face classroom, right? So the affordances are different, right? So teachers may have to think about all these things like cinematography, like BGM, right? Even so all things like this. Okay, and another mode is a dialogic instruction. So we say this teacher invites a student to sit there, and then she starts to ask questions. So this is to simulate the real classroom conversation, right? All right. So now let's pause here and look at the role of images in PowerPoint slides and in micro lectures. So we say the importance of the visual in the micro lectures. Okay, but in PowerPoint slides, the story is quite different. So in my analysis of images in PowerPoint slides, you can say that actually more than half of the images are not related to the language content. So I'll give you an example here. So for example, this is talking about some linguistic knowledge. And then you see this picture here. It's just birds and flowers. And there's no relation between the language and the image at all, right? So it's purely decorative. Yeah, and we say more than half of the PowerPoint slides use this kind of images, okay, which are unrelated to the language. And then in micro lectures, we do not see this kind of images. We do not see this kind of useless background of things. Yeah, they are all relevant. And then their roles, the pedagogical functions of the visual in micro lectures. So they serve three very important functions. The first is the constructing context. Okay, so they construct authentic context to situate the concepts, the linguistic or English concepts in daily life. Okay, that is mostly in the leading move, right? So like constructing a classroom situation, a campus situation, airport situation, and so on. And second is decoding meaning, which refers to the using image to unpack a metaphor or to reduce the level of abstraction for a verbal concept. For example, the use of images to exemplify the text. So like in that airport situation, right? So baggage check-in, and then you have an actual image of baggage check-in. And third is encoding meaning, okay, which uses authentic images as carriers of abstract concepts so that students can repack meaning by analyzing the images. Okay, so that is you use images as the prop, right, to say whether students understand certain concepts. Yeah, so that is asking the students to analyze images. So when they say this kind of in this situation is constructing a situation, authentic situation, so that students can apply, can use their knowledge, their knowledge about linguistics or about intercultural communication and so on. All right, so finally, the application stage, the exercises and assignments. Okay, so this is an important stage which leads to students' independent construction of meaning and transformed practice in new contexts. Well, ideally, but in the micro lectures, we do not see this kind of application of knowledge in new contexts. We only see decontextualized assignments which fail to link the student's life world with their learning experience. So it's basically about memorizing, understanding the knowledge. So the assignment is to test whether the students understand the knowledge. So again, we see these two approaches here in terms of the design of the pedagogy, right? So whether it's knowledge oriented or analysis oriented, whether the purpose of the teaching is to let the students understand the knowledge and master the knowledge, okay, or to enhance their analytical skills, their critical thinking, their problem solving skills, right? So unfortunately, from most of the videos we analyzed, we say the purpose is the mastery of knowledge instead of using knowledge in new contexts. So it's basically asking students to understand, right? So so this is what people do in the US, in the UK, right? So then when you are talking to someone from the US, for example, you need to pay attention to this and that. It's mostly about rules and knowledge. It's not about really using the knowledge and applying and critically thinking about knowledge or solving problems. So now, thinking about all this we have talked about from the lead-in to exemplification to application, we see different approaches, but the dominant approach is basically a knowledge kind of oriented, more kind of teacher-centered approach. And we see the macro structure that is very similar to that of traditional lectures. But we also say the new affordances of digital media for realizing different moves. So, for example, we see the adoption of existing video resources. Well, of course, this can also be used in classroom, real face-to-face classroom. And we see the use of self-made, non-professional videos, footages started by students. And we see the dialogic teaching mode curated through inviting students to meaning negotiation. And we see the creation of animated multimodal storytelling. And we see the design of a virtual background, the use of cinematography, layout design, and so on. So in general, we say the teachers emerging digital literacy. Okay, and my colleague Jennifer has several papers on that if you're interested. So basically, how teachers can use multimodal resources for expounding knowledge and engaging students. And uh, based on our analysis, this does not seem to pose any challenge. Okay, so it seems that the teachers are quite good at using technology. Okay? But to us, what is important, what is kind of uh, neglected in the discussion is the pedagogy. It seems that people just focus on, hey, there's this new challenges of using new media, challenges of designing micro lecture, designing MOOCs. So you guys may not be so good with technology, but actually the technology aspect is not a big problem, right? There's also these professional companies that can help the teachers. It is the pedagogy that really matters, right? So it seems that the pedagogy is not really transformed. It's just a old wine in new bottle. So we say changes in terms of how to teach, but not what to teach. So we say the contextualization of knowledge, we see the gamification of knowledge, we see the kind of maximal engagement and so on, which are all very good. But we say the teaching is still dominated by a concept explanation approach and still knowledge oriented. Okay, and we see the absence of analytical skills, problem solving skills, critical thinking, and so on, as I just mentioned. So, uh, and also referring back to what I just talked about the technology, right? So there seems to be a trend of overusing technology. So people seem to attach so much importance on technological affordances to produce a fine performance, which turns micro lessons from a pedagogical practice into a presentations of technical dexterity and personal charm. So it seems to show you this dazzling kind of special effects and technology. Then okay, then you will win like a first prize because you are so good at technology, right? And then the actual pedagogy behind seems to be neglected. Yeah, that seems to be the problem with many of these kinds of contests, right? So if you have very spoken English, you dress up really properly, you have a very well designed interface, right? Then you get a first prize, right? So if your spoken English is not very good, and you dress casually or you're not so good at technology, then you have no chance, right? So this seems to risk a, kind of creating a new form of teacher-centeredness in a new garb of multimedia teaching, which confounds the means with the ends, right? So technology should be able to facilitate a more student-centered approach that helps with students' problem-solving skills, critical thinking, analytical skills, and so on, right? It should not be used as personal kind of performance and just this new technologies to kind of still perform the old-fashioned audiolingual methods of teaching. I'll come to that also later. And here, that is the also a video that we analyzed with my colleague Jennifer Ho, and this is a commercially produced video, which is very popular on YouTube. However, hundreds of thousands of viewers. And so here, basically, this is about how to introduce yourself. Yeah. And what happens here is, okay, so suppose you are coming to America, you are going to coming to America, you don't know anybody, and you don't, yeah. And then we are going to learn how to introduce ourselves, right? So then she starts talking about my name is I am, and then there's a authentic setting of introducing, uh, like I'm from New York, hey, and so on. So here, let's see the kinds of resources that are used in this teaching video. So first of all, we say in terms of structure, we see a very interesting narrative structure. That is different from many of the micro lectures. So in these kind of videos, we say it's very kind of much like storytelling. So we see the setting, you are new to America, and then the problem, you don't know how to introduce yourself. Then I tell you how to introduce yourself. I teach you how to introduce yourself, and then the effect is the application, right? Demonstration. Okay, and say now, we see a lot of this people introducing themselves, right? So this seems to be the same as like movies or television commercial. So imagine a like a Colgate toothpaste commercial. There's might be a setting where you have bad breath and you can't find a girlfriend, people don't like you, and then the Colgate toothpaste comes as a solution, and the effect is now you are very popular with all uh, colleagues and boys and girls. So this is very much like promoting these kinds of lecture, right? This video, okay, through a problem solution pattern, right? Okay, so very commercialized, right? And then we can also say it's application oriented. Um, so it's not really about memorizing the knowledge, it's about using the knowledge so that you can introduce yourself properly when you are in the US, right? Okay. And we see a lot of authentic context. So a lot of footage, I don't know where they are from, but you can say maybe they're just this blogger made them, right? When she's talking to different people in different contexts. Okay. And we also see professional video design, visual design in terms of cinematography, in terms of the footage selection, in terms of editing, and so on. So, for example, just to give you an example of the design of a different short distance, we see very interesting variation. So, in micro lectures, we do not see such a variation. But see here, we start with a long shot, and then a very close-up shot, and then a medium shot, and then close shot, and then a long shot. So it's a lot of variations. It's very much like making a movie, right? You have variations in terms of cinematography to engage the audience. Okay, that's good. But we can say that this lecture, this video, is about the drilling of pronunciation. So basically, she's saying that my name is, and then pronouncing name, okay, how to pronounce. This is a very traditional audiolingual method of English language teaching. Okay, and this also reflects a very obvious native speakerism, right? Where if you are in America, you have to speak perfect American English. Okay, and meanwhile, we also see the absence of target learners. So it's not okay. There's a learner like coming from China or from Iran. Then when they are in the US, at first they do not speak English, and then after taking this course, after being taught by this blogger, then they were able to speak English. That probably would work better, right? But in micro lectures, we see the appearance of students, but in these videos, target learners are absent. It's all native speakers in there. Okay, so this comparison, okay, I'll talk about micro lecture and compare it with the PowerPoint slides and also commercially produced videos. Okay, and this make us rethink about pedagogy as multimodal design. So that includes design at the macro level, as a kind of a social and professional practice. So micro lecture as a new digital pedagogical genre, we need to think about the communicative purposes. Okay, whether it's about imparting knowledge, it's about enhancing analytical skills, all of them, right? So we need to think about how to design the communicative purposes and their configuration through design at the level of discursive practice. That is the design of stages and moves. So, for example, if your purpose is imparting knowledge, you probably would just start with the concept and explain it. But if your purpose is to engage the students' interest and enhance their analytical skills, then you probably would need to design with a problem solution pattern. So these different stages, right? So this is a setting, problem, solution solution pattern versus this concept, explanation, exemplification. So this, what you have here at the level of communicative purposes will have implications for the stages and moves you design. And then finally, design at the micro level in terms of the use of multimodal resources. We see the new resources such as staging, cinematography, editing, BGM, and so on, right? So I'll come to that in a bit more detail later. So where you have a lot of new resources to available, okay, for you to maneuver, right? Compared with classroom context. All right, so now thinking about further studies and what we're doing in terms of online teaching, micro lecture teaching videos, we can do multimodal analysis of commercially produced online educational videos in EFL context. So like in this case, in the Chinese context, but I'm sure it's also interesting to look at other contexts, such as on TikTok, on Xiaohongshu, and so on. We can analyze them as new multimodal genres in terms of their multiple purposes, in terms of the structure, the multimodal design, pedagogy, and so on. And we can also look at the identity of online tutors or teachers. So in terms of what identities are constructed? Okay, are they constructing a expert identity or peer identity? Okay, are they constructing themselves as teacher or as entertainer or even salesperson, right? And of course, very often as multiple identities, right? It's a very interdiscursive performance. And then in terms of how these identities are constructed through the multimodal performance, right? So when they are constructing their expert identity, they do not say, hey, I'm an expert, right? They perform their expertise through what they wear, through what they do, through what they say, and so on. Okay, so this is a framework I designed for analyzing the construction of identities in various contexts, like, for example, in speed dating reality show, how a man constructs his identity to attract a potential partner. Like when you have a attribute, right? You want to show that you are rich or you are kind, then you can articulate your identity or you do not. Okay, your identity is embedded in your actions or in like what you wear, in what kind of car you drive, and so on. Yeah, so we can analyze teachers' identities as this is seems to be a kind of emerging profession, right? On YouTube, on TikTok, and so on. We can also look at their social semiotic activities. So, as we mentioned, in traditional classrooms, teachers are more concerned with expounding knowledge, but now increasingly, right, they are also sharing their personal experience. They are also concerned with the recreating, with telling stories, with entertaining the audience. And they are also even concerned with promoting themselves and promoting their products, right? So the activities that are involved are becoming more complex. Okay, so it's not simply teaching, expounding knowledge, imparting knowledge, right? Okay, so it becomes a more complex, interdiscursive performance. Okay, and then how are these activities realized through multimodal resources? So we also need to model available resources. Okay, considering teacher as the designer, then like in this case, right? So we can look at the resources. Okay, we can distinguish between embodied resources and disembodied resources, but we can also consider the video as a complex kind of film, right? As a video, and then we can borrow all these terminologies, theories from film studies, okay, to understand the complexity of meaning making in online teaching videos. So, for example, in this framework, we say in designing a film, we have mise en scene, that is what happens within a shot, and then editing, right? What happens across shots. Okay, so within the shot, then you have all these resources for setting, staging, sound effects, cinematography, and so on. So in terms of staging, then basically it's about actors and actresses, right? And here, of course, it's about the teachers and all the other participants. So their verbal performance, their nonverbal performance, and then their nonverbal also includes all these actions and clothing and so on, right? Okay. And then in terms of cinematography, we see a lot of framing, camera angle, mobile framing, lighting, and so on. So all these film techniques would be relevant now as teaching videos are increasingly kind of professionally made. And aside from this mise-en-scène, we can also look at the editing. So, well, the classroom, face-to-face classroom is just one shot, right? So 45 minutes, one shot. So there's no editing. But these kind of commercial videos, you can say they use the editing technique, they use montage, right? Extensively. And this is also one very important difference with micro lectures, where you do not see a lot of shorts that are edited, right? So we can look at the global move structure, whether they are stories, problem solution patterns, right, or explanations. And we can also look at the local short relations. And here we can draw upon theories from film analysis. For example, in terms, the Christian Mass grand syntagmatic, right? So how one shot is related to another shot. So all these are very interesting areas for further exploration, right? In terms of the macro kind of design, the genre analysis, and the identity of the teachers, okay, and how they are constructing their identities, and also the new affordances, the new resources that are available in teaching videos. Yeah. So I think I'll stop here. Sorry, a bit overrun, but I hope there's still time for questions. Okay, thank you very much.